Well, mate, I'm going to head to the time tunnel and hit you with some questions from the past, if you don't mind. Now,
Yep.
I saw Guns N' Roses at Wembley in late August of 1991, and when I entered the stadium, there were Screaming Jets posters taped up outside the venue. That tells me that you had really good promo into your first UK gigs in September of 1991. What are your memories of that tour, which of course included a gig at the legendary Marquee Club?
Oh, it was unreal. I mean, we were kind of living the dream at that stage. We had great record company support. We were, doing our first tour in a tour bus like they do over in Europe and the US. And oh, mate, we were just having a blast. We played, as you say, the Marquee. We toured many countries through Europe. We did Germany, France, UK, Scotland, Ireland. It was an absolute buzz, and of course that kicked us over to the United States, where we did about 40-state tour over there as well. So it was, mate, that was right when we were right on the cusp. Big things were in store, but as they say, there's many a slip twixt the cup and the lip. But it was certainly something that we have great memories about.
You just mentioned America. It makes me want to ask you if conquering America was a priority for the band early on, or were you content to focus on the European circuit?
I think, any band who leaves the shores wants to go and conquer kind of everywhere, really. We found out the thing about doing that stuff is you really need to take the time. I mean, In Excess are a classic example of a band who went over there and toured for years and kind of rarely came home. I think that, the coming home and, running out of money and then changing management, they were the kind of things that conspired against us. I think we had a real shot at doing it over there, but it's, another thing advice I give to young bands is if you're going to make it, you might as well make it over there first as opposed to here first, because it's you spend a lot of time in Australia getting to a certain level, and then of course you go overseas, you're not at that level anymore. You got to go back down to the shit kicker really, but you still have to spend a lot of money. So. As I said, we were very lucky with our tour support from the record company in the first place. Then we had problems started at the record company and management level, and we kind of we just put our heads in the sand and said, let's get back on the road, let's get out there and tour, let's keep going. And I guess you can't just fluke it when it comes to that. Obviously, there's a bit of luck involved, but you need good management structures and good people at your record company to make sure that those goals are achieved while you're out there slogging it out on the road.
I've always wondered, Dave Holland from Judas Priest joined the band in European tour in '93. How did that all come about? And I guess I'm meaning, why was Dave Holland chosen to fill the drum stool?
Well, we kind of were caught between a rock and a hard place. Brad, our drummer, went home with illness. He wasn't able to continue with the band anymore, and we had a European tour, which the pinnacle of that was the fact we were playing a performance at the Rockham Ring, which is a part of the Monsters of Rock tour, and that was happening in Germany. So we got in the studio and rehearsed a bunch of drummers, and he was the best of the lot. And then obviously, so once he did filled in for that tour, and then once we were leaving England, I think he was pretty keen to get a Guernsey to come to America with us, but that would have entailed us having to employ him and be part of his visa process. So we kind of didn't have the time and money to put into that kind of that effort. So we headed off to the United States, and that's when Craig Rosebeer headed over from Australia, and we spent like 3 or 4 weeks in the States, just in the studio every day. Richard Lowry, our guitarist, then got sick, so we had to rehearse the drummer in without him and wait for him to get better before heading out on the road. So yeah, I mean, one day there'll be a book about it, but you still look back on those things, and obviously you look at missed opportunities and maybe a bit of immaturity, and obviously we were having a big party.
Yeah.
It was party Grand Central, and maybe we let a few things slip through the cracks.
What kind of covers were you doing in early outfits like Sudden Impact and Aspect?
Yeah, we're doing definitely doing Jailbreak. We did a lot of Aussie stuff. I remember Forever Now, we used to play that Chisel song, and what else we did? Hey Hey My My, or My Hey Hey, or however you call it, from by Neil Young. And I was actually remembering the other day we loved the Johnny Winter version of Boney Maroney, so that was one of the first songs that we ever kind of put in our set. Rain, which funnily enough has made it onto this album. We loved Dragon as a young band, so yeah. And of course the Angels. I remember the first time we ever got to support the Angels would have been about 86 or 87 in my first band. And we were through the roof. We couldn't believe it. And then after all the excitement died down, we realised we'd have to learn some new songs, because the lion's share of songs that we did in our set were Angels songs. Small Price to Pay, Shadow Boxer, Coming Down on Me. So yeah, we took our cues a lot from. I think there was rehearsal sessions where all we did was watch The Last Stand and Angels Narara 83, I think it was their big year. But we just took such a big influence from those bands, and we played a couple of Chisel songs as well that escaped me. But yeah, we tried to at first kind of concentrate on a lot of Australian content.
From what I've read, mate, Aspect did so much gigging in the mid to late 80s. In retrospect, do you think those early days hardened you for the road ahead with the Jets, particularly in the early 90s?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing gets you ready for it like doing it live, and whether that was doing our own gigs, or doing 3 or 4 sets a night, or supporting big bands, which they were the cream gigs. And for those, we had to supply loaders, so we'd rock up at 2:00 in the arvo and help them load out of the truck and help them set the gear up, and then we'd go on, and then we'd stay around and watch the main band and try and pick up some dregs, and then help load out at the end of the show, and things like that. They really got you involved in not only the performance side of it, but moving big black boxes and gaff tape and multi-cores and stuff like that. And then we went on to own our own PA in that band in Aspect, and we if we weren't playing, we'd hire it out, and Grant would do sound and I'd do lights, and it really was kind of starting from the ground up and learning all the bits and pieces. So when we did get to the stage where the Jets started, and we were hiring crew, we weren't so much doing it ourselves anymore, but we knew what the boys were going through.